It gives me an immense pleasure in welcoming all of you to the parallel sessions which are being hosted right now. So, the session which is being conducted in this hall is on cracking the SME riddle, driving profitable growth in SME. We have eminent personalities who are going to participate in this panel discussion. So I have pleasure in welcoming Shri Arun Koul, Deputy Chairman, IBA and Chairman, Managing Director, UCO Bank. I request Mr. Koul to please come and occupy his seat. I also welcome Mr. Sushil Mohnot, CMD, Bank of Maharashtra. I request him to please come and occupy his seat. I also welcome Mr. Arun Tiwari, Executive Director, Allahabad Bank. Request to him to come and occupy his seat. I also welcome Mr. Raghuttama Rao, MD, ICRA Management Consulting Services. Request to him, sir, to occupy this seat. I also welcome Shri V. Kannan, Executive Director, Oriental Bank of Commerce. I also welcome Mr. P.R. Ravi Mohan, Regional Director, Reserve Bank of India. Request to you, sir, to come and occupy this seat. And the last but not the least, I also welcome Ms. Ananya Tripathi, Associate Principal, McKinsey & Company, to welcome. A request to the chairman of this panel discussion to start the proceeding. Mr. Koul, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Arora. Good afternoon. Today we have this panel. We'll discuss about cracking the SME riddle, driving profitable growth in SME. Now, today SME is the buzzword. The problems that are facing the large corporate credit and the type of the NPAs that banks are facing today, the focus has substantially shifted to retail and SME. Since there's a lot of focus on SME, are banks able to optimally utilize this opportunity? Do SMEs throw a major opportunity to the banks? And are we able to capture this? SMEs do face a lot of problems. They face structural weaknesses, including weak entrepreneurial culture, lack of professionalism, shortage of qualified manpower, inadequate IT penetration, weak or absence in-house R&D, outmoded method of operation, and limited ability to tap economies of scale. In spite of that, this segment does offer a huge opportunity to the banks. Now, before we proceed the panel discussion, there's a presentation by Ananya. I would request Ananya to make the presentation, and then we'll discuss the panel as to how banks can optimally use this opportunity to increase the credit and increase profitability. Ananya.
Especially respected panelists and the esteemed members of the audience. Taking the theme of the conference further, which is banking in a time of uncertainty, I'm just going to present a few of our insights on cracking the SME riddle. As we look at the SME segment and the SME opportunity which presents itself to banks, there are three big things that we observe. The first, in our view, is that while we know that today SME segment already contributes about rupees 58,000 crore in revenue, our estimates are that this is likely to increase to rupees 2 lakh crore by 2020. This points to the kind of unlimited potential and the rapid growth that the segment is seeing. Having said that, when we estimate current penetration of SME in credit, what is clear is that there remains an unmet need. According to our estimates, about rupees 4.5 trillion is the unmet need in the SME segment. Also, based on our survey, which we did with the help of IBA, which covered about 800 SME customers, the insight shows that nearly 65% of SMEs continue to borrow from non-bank sources. This, we think, is a huge insight for banks to question their operating model and how can they further tap this opportunity. Also, as we did the Bank of the Future survey that I spoke about, we saw insights along 4 specific dimensions. First was actually a bit counterintuitive, which shows that SME loyalty has gone up significantly. About 25% decrease in banking relationships is witnessed. In the current uncertain times, this poses the question that is this because customers are getting more loyal to banks or because banks are shying away to lend to them? So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is, as we asked SMEs what are the most important drivers of loyalty in your banking institution, they said that service and relationship was important. However, when we asked them to rank, how satisfied are you with your relationship with your bank across these dimensions, less than 50% are completely satisfied. Number 3, as SMEs move away from traditional plain vanilla products into more sophisticated products, there is a steep difference seen in the need for product expertise that banks are offering to them. This again poses questions on what should be the coverage model which can be adopted by banks as they think about serving the SMEs, and how can they bring the best of product specialists into the offering for the customer. Lastly, as we look at the channels, and we've spoken a lot about technology, and we've heard a lot of preeminent leaders in banking speak about how technology is changing banking, that is visible also with SMEs. So SMEs are increasingly interacting with banks more through alternate channels than traditional channels. So, in summary, SMEs, in our belief, can be profitably served by banks considering innovation across 5 key imperatives. 1 is granular customer understanding. 2nd is credit underwriting. 3rd are cost-effective distribution models, coverage models, and use of technology. I will just take a little bit of your time to take you through some of the details. What this page here highlights is what we refer to is the future growth of the SME segment. As you can see, overall, the SME segment revenues are estimated to grow by 18%, which is likely to be faster than the overall banking revenue growth. Nearly 50% of this is going to continue to come from credit, and therefore, it would be interesting to hear everyone's views on how to penetrate credit even further. As I spoke about earlier, there is an unmet credit demand of nearly 4.5 trillion rupees in the MSME segment. And when we asked people, about 65% still turn to non-bank borrowing. When we look at this number, including bank and NBFCs, then 45% customers are turning to non-formal sources, which means neither banks nor NBFCs. The important thing on this is when we ask them what is the reason, the 2 primary reasons are the need for more collateral by banks, and secondly, the fact that they may have used up all their existing credit lines. SME customer loyalty, as I spoke about earlier, has increased significantly. More importantly, SMEs now want banks to offer solutions for both their personal and business needs. As you can see here, nearly 52% of customers said that they prefer to use primary bank for personal needs, but are looking for other banks for loans, etc. This again highlights how product is actually a low driver of loyalty, and service and relationship are most important. However, on service, only 42% of SME customers are completely satisfied, and on relationship, this is only 39%. As we go into the next level on products, what you can see is that for savings accounts, term deposits, SME customers look to relationships with distributors as the primary factor. However, when they look at stocks or derivatives, what they really need is product expertise. And a big question for Indian banking is how best can this product expertise be brought to the customers? The numbers here, which were also spoken about by Rennie in the plenary, show that in the average number of interactions by an SME per month are 31 in traditional channels, but are actually 35 through alternate channels. On this chart, what you can also see is that today, internet banking is second only to branch. A few years back, we, as the banking industry, could not have imagined such a scenario. So what are the key imperatives coming from these insights? The key imperatives from these are, firstly, banks need to develop a granular understanding of the customer base. All SMEs are not the same, and their needs vary by the sector they're in, the industry they're in, and therefore the SME segment needs a very granular understanding. Second, banks need to think about using qualitative and quantitative models for credit assessment, which help them understand SMEs' credit beyond the financial statements, and also helps give them comfort of the integrity of the entire enterprise. The third is thinking about very different coverage models, which includes leveraging product specialists to bring the best of the bank to the SME. The fourth is building cost-effective distribution, because the MSME segment is very fragmented and distributed. And also, the use of technology to integrate channel leads and design payment solutions. This is an example of how banks globally are using both qualitative and quantitative models, which they supplement with modules specific to the industry. Example, a manufacturing module, a trade module, a construction module. Today, the traditional model of coverage which is followed by banks is that there is a separate savings SME RM and there's a separate affluent RM. And there are two people who reach out to the client. Some of the things from global best practices to consider are, should banks be adopting a joint model? Should banks be having fully integrated customer service teams to bring product expertise to the customers? Or is there a concept of a super RM who's been trained in all the specialist needs of a SME in a particular segment? Last but not the least is the fact that there is a huge manpower and skill challenge faced, especially by public sector banks, in serving a distributed SME customer. And therefore, we believe banks should undertake a move towards a SME talent factory. What this would involve is manpower planning, strong employee value proposition, onboarding and training plans so that they learn, and lastly, a robust performance management system. This, in summary, are some of our insights and ideas. We hope that this will help the panel have a very interesting discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya. The presentation very clearly brings out a fairly large potential for SME segment which banks can capture. But like the presentation very clearly said, banks have not been able to capture the segment to a very large extent. There's still huge untapped potential. Why banks are not able to reach out and capture this market? Let's hear views of Shri Mohnot, Chairman Bank of Maharashtra, earlier heading SIDBI, and also Shri Kanand thereafter.
Very good afternoon. See, what we saw from Ananya's talk is that there is a large amount of untapped opportunity available in this sector. 65% of the customers use non-banking areas, and the scope is about 4.5 trillion. Now, why is it that we say that this is existing? Despite, I will say there is another philosophy or another thing which we can say is that all banks today want to do MSME business aggressively. I'll say again, repeat it, that all banks today want to do the MSME business aggressively. If we look at the asset side of any bank, just see, what are the other asset classes which they have other than MSMEs? You have agriculture, you have large corporate, you have home loans, you have others. All these do not give you the margins which an MSME gives you. Now then, and today all banks are listed also. So what happens is every quarter a bank chairman is making a speech, talking to analysts and saying them, look, how do I increase my profitability? And the whole question is only of profitability. And the way out for all this profitability is MSMEs. So every bank would like to do MSME, but the only question is, yet we have this dichotomy that there are a large number of MSMEs who are yet to be covered. So the question here ultimately boils down to is that how do we reach out to a larger number? I believe the most important thing is how do we, each bank would like to do MSME, but how can it do a larger number of MSME financing? I think that is one important area, reaching out to the MSMEs. And number two will be, say, whatever little they are able to do in the MSME sector, they find that they are saddled with some NPAs, and so an adequate risk management model needs to be in place. So basically, these are the two issues. One is how do we reach out more and more MSMEs can be done, and the second is how do we build adequate risk management so that our losses or our provisioning in terms of SME comes down. Now, if we come to the first part, how do we enhance our reach? The biggest problem comes right at the ground level when an entrepreneur approaches the bank manager for financing. And that is where the problems start for the SME sector. What happens? The bank manager sees the application and more or less the chances are much more that he rejects it. And why? Basically because the project has been prepared in a very, you can say, unprofessional manner. The information is very sketchy. You do not have enough details to be able to take up a decision based on that. So the biggest problem is that the enough project preparation work has not been done by the entrepreneur to be able to inspire confidence in the bank manager to finance that project. And which is why large number of even good projects, viable projects do not get financed. Now how do we change this situation? Is sadly in India, we do not have a large number of good project preparation agencies, professional project preparation agencies, who can, or you can call them SME consultancy corporations or organizations, which are not available today. Several years back, I think the financial system thought about it, and TCOs, the technical consultancy organizations, were established. Probably they were much earlier ahead of their time, so somehow they couldn't flourish. And because of that, maybe most of them have also started moving away from the MSME sector. So there is a need for the banking sector to develop such professional agencies to bring together that part. The second part is in terms of giving information to the entrepreneur so that he can bring in a proper project to the banker. For that purpose, normally in the universities, colleges, nobody teaches them how to set up an industry and how to do all these things. So this is a huge gap which a person faces. He looks at a blank wall when he is looking at becoming an entrepreneur. And that is where there is information need is required. SIDBI has tried to fill up this need in terms of setting up a website called smallb.in, which gives them all the information related on how to set up an industry. So which will give you some part of bringing about this information gap, filling up that information gap. Now, till the time these consultancy organizations come up, do we have any other alternative also? Yes, there is an alternative available, and there are very good professional agency which is available, which can be made use of. And I'm now talking of the rating agencies. Today, rating agencies, what they do is they are looking at existing projects and giving them a rating which helps them in terms of getting better interest rates. But if you want, can we not have the rating agencies to look at a different model of looking at the SMEs and do an independent assessment of project proposals which are coming in? Suppose a project proposal which has been prepared by any customer or by any consultant, average consultant. If that project is independently vetted by an rating agency and given us here grading, say investment grade or some kind of a grading which can be given from that assessment, then, and if then we approach a bank, it will become much easier for the bank to be able to finance them. And because, see, the number of cases which are going to be there in proposals as compared to the existing units is going to be much larger. So the fees for the rating also can come down significantly. In fact, I have personally discussed with all the heads of rating agencies in this, and they say that they are willing to take up a new independent assessment model, which they can use it at a much lower cost and bring in a much better projects availability to the banking system so that more financing can be done. The other areas for enhancing reach, I think based on this, SIDBI has also started a loan syndication system service, which is primarily based on exactly the things which I have just said. Now, enhancing reach, you can further enhance reach by way of adding up channel partners. See, the MSME are very well spread out, large numbers, very much. How do you reach all of them together? You cannot, despite 1 lakh bank branches being there, it's not easy to reach out to all of them. So the banks can need to look at channel partners like NBFCs, MFIs, These are the organizations which can provide last mile connectivity, which is very important for serving the MSME entrepreneur. You can also do, another alternative can be, you can build up strong industry associations. Just like we have an example of Faridabad Small Industry Association, where this industry association gets together, does the basic KYC of the application, and collects up all the papers, brings it together, and gives it to the bank. SIDBI has been doing this with FSIA for the last 6 years, and you will be surprised to see that in the last 6 years, there's been no NPA in those cases which have been brought up by the association. So there is a possibility that if we empower these associations or we get them to be strong enough, they will be helping up the new entrepreneurs coming up. Of course, simultaneously, we can also look at cluster development, and then only these stronger association agencies will come up. Internally, of course, the banks can do a lot more things by, of course, which they are already doing. Some part is increasing the branch network. They can improve the systems and processes, because more standardization of system processes will help you much more. Use of technology, especially software-based methodology for doing credit appraisal and rating. For example, SIDBI has one credit appraisal and rating tool which can be utilized. And there is also a downscaling methodology which gives end-to-end software module for right from appraisal to the collection stage. Now, these are the kind of things which can be propagated within the bank so that it becomes much easier. You require much lesser skill set to be able to do an appraisal at the branch level if you have these kind of technology enablers available to you. And that will also take care of some of the differences, which understanding of the people which is not there. So this is where I think we can go ahead and take up the reach on it.
Thank you, Mr. Mohnot. Let's now hear Mr. Kannan regarding his views as to why banks are not able to tap this potential to their advantage.
Thank you, Mr. Kaul. SME potential remaining untapped, yes, this is only an assessment. Why it is remaining untapped, I won't say, because as bankers, we always look for any business potential. If Ananya's presentation says today it is 58,000, and without much effort, it is likely to reach 200,000 by 2020. And with effort, it is likely to reach 450,000. I think that's a huge potential, opportunity available to all the banks. It's not that we are not looking at it. There's a good scope to expand. But then, still, why the gap is there? Again, her own survey says that 65% is dependent on non-banking sources. That includes NBFC and other than NBFC, unorganized sector. Let's look at it. NBFCs in other sectors, they do depend on the banks. They borrow from us, and they are still able to lend profitability to others. And at the same time, they are also able to sell back that as a parcel back to the bankers as a priority sector. That's the way it is happening. Okay, if that is the case, why is it that the banks are not able to achieve it directly? This is something similar to, in spite of having the extensive rural network, how MFIs have been successful in reaching out to the last mile. This is something similar to that. Let's look at it. NBFCs and other unorganized sector, the main thing is the turnaround time. Particularly SMEs, if they need the money, they need it on the same day or the next day morning. Okay? Unfortunately, the way in which our products, the way in which our system is established, we are not in a position to deliver it. It's not that the banks have not realized this. I'm just listing out what are the differences, why they have been successful. One is turnaround time, another the easy access, 24/7, right at their doorsteps also. Some of the NBFCs are available to the SMEs at their doorsteps, which from the banking side, today it is not available. And then the third one is rigidity of the products. The mindset with which the Indian credit system has evolved, particularly the banking system, is purpose-oriented lending. There is no general credit facility available. Whereas as an SME, if I walk into an NBFC, yes, one of the most very common product of any NBFC is a LAP, loan against property, no questions asked. Look at the security, and then that is treated as SME lending. It is coming back to the banking system as a priority sector. What does all this lead to? All the banks, we need to look at our delivery system. That is a process where the turnaround time can be increased, and also we need to look at the product per se. Now, as bankers, we are averse to lending, let's say, a 10-year maturity, which normally the NBFCs give it to the SMEs, because we are very much worried about the ALM mismatch. But at the same time, if you look at it, we used to give 20 years housing loan, now we have raised it to from 25 to 30. asset liability mismatch is coming over there. But when it comes to MSME lending, particularly for long term, we normally restrain ourselves to only 5 years or 7 years, whereas the product is available in the market for 10 years. Obviously, he is going to go over there. Now, these are the reasons which have been identified. It is not that the banking industry is not aware of that. I mean, this is a potential which has been told, 450,000. These are the product constraints and process constraints which are there. All the banks are definitely taking steps to address this. Now, each and every bank is addressing it in a different manner. Particularly, the product maybe from the head office. Nowadays, you will find in all the banks, you have a separate vertical for MSME headed by a general manager or a senior vice president giving out the products and customizing it. But it has to get translated, particularly in a public sector environment, it has to be translated into the ground level. The last person who is sitting at the branch, maybe we are talking about the number of branches, the branch manager over there who is actually going to implement. Now that turnaround time depends on that. Now that is the efforts which are being put in by all the banks. I think the entire banking system has realized, I think going forward, this gap will definitely be addressed and the potential will be taken back to the banking system.
Thank you, Mr. Kannan. Yes, there's a huge market waiting to be tapped. Are banks in a position to meet the needs of SME customers in terms of products, processes, services, and distribution? Let's hear views of Mr. Arun Tiwari on all this aspect. Mr. Arun Tiwari.
Good afternoon. The perspective has been set. To begin with, in the presentation by McKinsey, then my fellow panelists, the importance of SME. Typically a public sector bank, our existence depends on how successfully we finance SME sector. If we look last 10 years, the growth rate pattern, SME sector's growth rate has been higher than GDP or industrial growth rate. McKinsey presentation touched upon one very crucial issue, relationship. Now look at the psyche before getting into the technicals of products or services or distribution channel. Look at the psyche of the person. He's from unorganized sector, not very well capitalized. So first thing what he or she looks for is, I will go to a bank or a bank's branch where I know somebody. So the underlying factor what I'm trying to touch upon is the relationship. And we can vouch from a public sector bank's perspective, when we hold hand, especially of the small sector, we hold that under Hindu Marriage Act. We hold it truthfully when the chips are down also. Talking about the needs are from both sides. Expectations are from both sides. We should not forget that banking is the highest leveraged industry. Look at our capital and look at our liabilities. One, and on the other side of it is, it's somebody else's money of which we are trustees. So the straight jacket within which we have to function, that has been made much simpler for SME sector. The instructions which emanate right from Rasina Hill to Minter Street, we all know that our existence as a public sector bank having 1 lakh plus branches is with financial inclusion and SME sector. Talking about product, processes, then services and distribution. Perhaps this is our moral responsibility. The product or process if we talk about, from customer's point of view, basic needs are two, either working capital or term loan. We know in the heart of heart, look at the balance sheet, too weak a balance sheet. Instead of capital, you will find unsecured loans, and you also know the nature of that. But still, that is treated as quasi-capital. You look at EBITDA margin, there are small-scale companies which are working at 12 to 15% EBITDA margin and paying 12% interest. It can't function. Getting into the specifics of product or the scheme which we have for a long time, how easily we can make them available to these entrepreneurs. Many a times bankers are, it is alleged that we are averse to lending. No sir, it's not so. From SME perspective, it's ease with which you get and educate you get the money. But talking about how much money, that's something like sugar level in our body. If sugar level is less or sugar level is more, both ways it's injurious. So is the working capital finance. You are under-financed or over-financed, either ways. And when it comes to, as a stakeholder, we are one of the prominent stakeholders in the growth of SME sector. There are other stakeholders also. We are doing our bit. Otherwise, the growth rate which is published for MSME sector by Ministry of MSME would have not been greater than the industrial production or the GDP per se. Therefore, customer by and large finds solace in getting to a nationalized bank. Talking about product, as I said, what we have done is nothing great about that. When he needs money, when going is good, we give it by way of a line of credit. We put a separate sanction in case of need up to certain amount, which is in our bank is 3 crores, he can take immediately even the term loan, no appraisals. Processes. No, when the raw material is not perfect, we know that, why it is not perfect. It's to certain extent, it's promoter's contribution because he never bothered about, the only thing he bothered about is, I'm sorry, how to pay less tax. You are weakening your balance sheet. Unless otherwise that balance sheet is strengthened, don't expect us. We are absolutely snoring, sleeping partners. But that 25% of it, you have to do. So unless otherwise you take that one step forward, we are in business. It's not charity. So whether you talk about the products or the processes, many banks, to streamline the processes, what they have done for many number of years. I have been with the industry for nearly 35 years. For those many years, I have seen most of the public sector banks, they recruit officers specialized to serve the SSI sector, then when we used to call this SSI sector. We have created a separate, that is what Mr. Kannan said, separate vertical within the organization, which is headed by a general manager. We have set up loan factories where a small setup, doing the same kind of a job every day, it hastens the process. Talking about distribution, if distribution has to reach that last mile, it's only public sector bank with their vast reach, they can make it possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun. Yes, banks have taken a lot of efforts to put in proper products, being the working capital, term loan, forex, derivative export finance, to provide all the products and services to the SME segment. Similarly, processes have been improved upon substantially. Customer segmentation has been done. Verticals have been created. SME factories or hubs have been set up to ensure the processing is quick and SME gets timely loans, because time is very important for them. Similarly, banks, with a view to strengthen the services, have been engaging, like Arun said, engineers, MBAs, chartered accountants, and specialist officers to serve this segment. Now, does this segment offer any risk to the bank? We have heard about a couple of banks, the bank chairman saying that NPAs in SME sector are fairly large. There are risks in financing this segment. Let's see what are the risks are there and how these risks will be managed. We hear Shri Rao from ICRA.
Let me build on what my co-panelists have said, and let me also kind of put a spin on some of these issues. To my mind, there are 3 points under, or 3 headings under risk which banks need to look at when they start looking at the SME, or let me use the word MSME sector. What do I mean by 3 points? First of all, it is not a monolith. In fact, if you look at the theme of this session that says how do you solve this riddle? I would actually say that the heart of the problem, why are banks unable to penetrate or unable to lap it up or go after the opportunity, is fundamentally the risk. There is a mismatch in terms of the risks that they see, perceive, are able to measure, or eventually manage. And I think, therefore, understanding, and if you can't measure it, you can't monitor it and you can't manage it. So therefore, the heart of the problem, I would think, in solving the SME riddle really is to get your arms around, this 4-letter word called risk. That's really what I would, say. And let me kind of address this in 3 parts. When you look at the MSME sector, that itself tells that, when you come from a corporate banking setup or a retail banking, it seems to lie in between. And therefore, it seems to have shades of both. Answer is yes, in terms of characteristics or attributes of the customer or needs, but from a risk management perspective, the MSME tends to be a very different animal. And I would actually go further to say that even within this sector or segment called MSME, there are shades of gray which need to be tackled differently from a risk perspective. Now, when you look at a 4.5 trillion or whatever rupees, which is the unmet demand, I would actually say most of it, or more than half of it, probably lies in the micro sector, which is less than typically, you can have your own definitions, but typically less than rupees 5 lakh turnover entities. There are lots and lots of them. Another 30% probably, now these are my guesses and are based on some research, is probably in the small sector. And the medium sector of MSME actually is not too badly off. That's where, they need sophistication, they need, that's where bank can probably get in first. But the heart of the unbanked problem, the heart of where risk is not understood, and where the leap is to be made in terms of capabilities and skills for banking sector, I would also dare say more for the public sector banks than as much for some private sector banks or NBFCs, is actually in the micro and the small segments of SME. So coming to the second part of risk management, having understood that this is not one monolith, you need to then see what tools and techniques or processes or models do you need to look at. If you look at the heart of where the demand for MSME comes from, depending on how you slice or dice the cake, you would see something like 15 sectors or verticals account for an overwhelming need for demand. Now, they could be retail and wholesale, which is services, or very largely services and manufacturing oriented. So you can't have one model. First of all, having one model for MSME for risk evaluation is a blunder. So banks that actually look at risk evaluation for this sector with one model, you're actually using a very coarse tool, and you're going to miss the sharp edges, as you go by. So therefore, see how can different risk models be used. Similarly, you can't use 15 risk models. That's too much of an overkill. So what has to be done, and the research really shows, or our empirical analysis shows, that something like 3 or 4 models can actually comprehensively look at risk assessment for this sector. Now that can be done on the basis of size, that can be done on the basis of manufacturing and services, that can be done on the basis of even cluster-based rating. If you go industry-wide, all industries that do, let's say, textile or garments, they would have a certain kind of a risk profile. So, there are various ways in which banks, depending on their expertise, depending on their comfort, depending on their risk tolerance, depending on their expertise, can actually create these risk models. The third thing that I would actually go about saying in risk is, you're making 2 trade-offs when you're designing a risk model. And, this is actually not got to do with the quality of risk, that has actually got to do with the turnaround time. I think it was mentioned here that entrepreneurs or SME entities cannot wait forever. They are short of funds, they're short of oxygen. And therefore, banks actually cannot take their own sweet time. They may have a process, but you have to work, no matter what kind of ecosystem you set up, no matter what kind of support systems you set up, credit assessment or risk assessment will have to be done with a paucity of data, with a paucity of information. To an extent, it will have to be a leap of hope and faith, but a good informed one, which then goes to protect the risk of what they call loss given default, if there is a default. And I think that's the heart of what a risk model really needs to look at. So how do you do a risk model that not only does a good quality job, but also does it in the shortest possible period of time? And there's no conflict here. So it depends on how many tiers do you want to do it. It depends on how much delegation do you want to do. If you look at the heart of a MSME assessment, there is very little reliable data to go on. Typically, people ask you, which balance sheet should I give you? That's the nature of reality here. So therefore, if that is what it is, then you have to willy-nilly rely on qualitative data. And how is qualitative data done? So therefore, you need a cadre of people in the bank that actually is comfortable looking at ambiguous data, comfortable looking at qualitative data, comfortable making judgments about how correct that estimate is, and then having a risk rating system that actually builds on this and is able to take decisions. So this is quite possible to do. I mean, we have validated few models, and we are fairly confident that in the Indian setting, across industries, this is possible to get done. So in terms of monitoring, again, an important point is it's very hard to monitor. The second excuse that banks don't get into SME is they're too granular, too small, and it costs too much on a per unit basis to actually take an exposure to and monitor over 5 years or 10 years or what have you. So therefore, you need a risk monitoring system that is actually a little smart. So it might start off by looking at industry or cluster analysis. These kind of entities are vulnerable. We know that intuitively. At the first sign of recession, they're the ones to go down underwater first. So therefore, you need an early warning system that's slightly different from large corporates. It gives you a little more assessment. You probably need to grade accounts on people who have been with you longer, probably where the quality of collateral, that itself probably needs a rating. You probably need a collateral rating system that goes along with this. So you're more comfortable monitoring off-site entities that have better collateral, or entities that you have banked with earlier, or that you are having other product and relationships with. So your rating system actually looks at your length of your relationship. It has to look at the kind of diversity of relationships, or how deeply are your engagements with the borrower, and so on and so forth. And then you concentrate on where you think the industry or the sector or the region or the cluster is more vulnerable to. So I would think that these are the 3 or 4 things that a risk management system, in terms of design, in terms of implementation, and in terms of constant fine-tuning, needs to address if this SME riddle has to be solved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Very clearly he stated as to what are the risk management system banks need to strengthen to finance this segment. But the fact remains, like Ananya's presentation said, one reason the banks don't finance this segment is because banks want collateral security. Why do banks need collateral security? Because the confidence level is slightly low. Banks are not sure that if they lend money, there would not be any problem. Although up to under CGM scheme up to 1 crore, we need not insist for the collateral. But beyond 1 crore, we do observe the operating level, or managers do insist for collateral security. Part of the reason is because the quality of the data which comes to us from the entrepreneur is extremely poor quality. Based on that quality, I find it very difficult to assess and lend the money. That with the risk management system, is much more important. We need a very healthy risk management system. Now, having realized that there is a good potential and banks can meet out this potential SME segment, how to build capacities? Capacities need to be built up both at the bank side as well as the entrepreneur side. Plus, we need a very favorable regulatory environment to operate for this segment. To learn these things, let's listen to Mr. Kannan regarding what steps banks should take to build capacity for this segment. Mr. Kannan.
See, like I will again continue from what I said. Having identified where are all the deficiencies, from there we need to build up the capabilities. I talked about the turnaround time, okay, and then the products. Okay. Now, like I mentioned that every bank has got a vertical, we are coming out with the products and other things. Yeah. But at the same time, if you look at it, if you go to a Tirupur or a Coimbatore, it's a textile sector. SME may be related to that. Or if you go towards Morbi, it is something to do with tiles. Or if you go towards Alang, it is shipbreaking. Or if you come to Faridabad, Gurgaon, it is auto-related sector. The problems, like Mr. Rao mentioned, the problems as well as the models cannot be the same. And even if you are in a position to make one model for each of the industry, but then again, for each of the individual units, it cannot be fitting. It is like, it's not like buying a ready-made shirt for everybody. It has to be a tailor-made. And for this tailor-made product, capabilities have to be built at the ground level, that is at the branch manager's level. Now, if you look at, again, coming back to the typical 70% of the banking being with the public sector, there is a big generation gap, okay? Now, in most of the public sector banks, you will find either people below 35 or above 55. There is a 20-year gap, okay? The below 35, yes, tech savvy, they are ready to go and other things, but lack experience and product knowledge. 55 and above are looking in a different direction. So there is this gap which has been recognized. And these last 4 or 5 years, the persons who have been inducted, this is below 35 category, has been brought online how to be empathetic towards the customers, handhold them. Now, from that point of view, I will definitely draw reference to what our Chidambaram Saab mentioned over there. One is retraining, another is building the confidence in the person to make the decision. Okay, whether the decision will be looked at, because failures will always be there when you take a decision. Particularly so when you are talking about an SME segment. And another factor, why I will tell you, I will just draw a reference. I'll just draw a reference. Dr. Khalid Nagati, he is the president of Association of SME at Egypt. I will read his statement. It is applicable to India also. He says the obstacle for point of view of financial institution. The lack of regular and actual accounting records, as most SME owners provide 2 copies of financial statements and budgets, one offered to tax authorities and the other for financial institutions in order to get funding. It's not my statement. It's a statement coming from Egypt. I think it is very relevant in today's circumstances in India also. But then, what is the role? And if we are going to depend on such statements, there has to be a comfort level which has to be built in at the grassroots level. Yes, based on that, whatever decisions that are taking, that will be, the bank will stand by and the persons will not be let down. There is a very apt remark by FM in the morning's speech. I think banks are taking steps and educating the people right at the grassroots level to take care of the customers and the customers' needs in the most sympathetic manner. The transition is taking place. Like our Manoj Saab mentioned, there is a bigger role in this which is to be played. Reserve Bank also of India also talk about financial literacy counseling and other things. It is not only for the individuals or farmers or the rurals. There is a counseling that is required for the SME, where banks are also in partnership with the voluntary associations and organizations doing a good job. He gave an example of Faridabad, which we are all witness to that. I think banks are taking the steps to build in the capabilities at the ground level.
Thank you, Mr. Kannan. Yes, banks are taking care to develop products, processes, services, training manpower, and retailing talent for this. For building capacity, the banks are taking steps. There's a need for industry also to take care in terms of building capacities. But before that, let's hear the regulatory view on this. We have with us Shri Ravi Mohan from RBI to tell us the regulatory aspects involved in the SME finance.
I'll be very brief. Only thing is, after lunch, sitting and listening is as difficult as sitting and talking. So I thought I will stand and talk. I think the distinguished members of the panel covering all sections, banks and rating agencies, and of course, Mr. Munut, who was in SIDBI for a very long time, have covered almost all aspects of SME financing. It's obvious that this sector contributes to economic growth in both developed and emerging economies by sustaining employment and contributing to GDP. But they are also affected by the global financial crisis as any other sector. So Reserve Bank believes that to regain the growth momentum for the economy and sustain it, MSME sector is very critical. And to build the capabilities in this sector from a regulatory perspective, several measures have been taken in a calibrated manner over a period of time. These include regulatory prescriptions, regulatory fiat, as well as developmental issues. Most of you are aware of these things. I am only recapitulating whatever the regulatory prescriptions are there. There have been issues like, issuing acknowledgement of loan application to borrowers, delinking the collateral requirement up to a particular level, you should not insist on collateral, opening of specialized MSME branches, at least one in each district, revised guidelines on rehabilitation of sick, micro and small enterprises based on Dr. Chakravarti Committee recommendations, an overlay with financial literacy and consultancy support, these FLCs and RCTs being a major partner in MSME financing initiatives. And also the recent structural mechanism for monitoring credit growth to this sector by an IBA committee headed by Mr. K.R. Kamath, which suggested three important things: monitoring the timely rehabilitation, put in place a system of e-tracking of applications, and also to have a, strengthening the existing monitoring credit growth to this sector and put in place a system-driven comprehensive performance management information system at all levels. But apart from all these things, from a developmental perspective, RBI always has been thinking that at every regional office, there is an empowered committee headed by the regional director with all stakeholders as members, the SLBC convener, major banks, the state government, industry associations. And this empowered committee on MSME is supposed to be a very important driving force as far as credit dispensation and various issues are concerned, and also does little bit of hand-holding for the entrepreneurs, for the participants, and also tries to resolve many of the conflict that can arise between the banks and state governments. I have practical experience of doing that in my state. This can be an effective forum on many of the issues which we discussed earlier. We have also recently, as a developmental aspect, told each regional office of Reserve Bank to do some town hall events in clusters where MSME related activities are very prominent. Each of the regional offices have done that. We are doing it in Madhya Pradesh. We have done it in 1 or 2 centers. We are following it up in other centers. And this is not a mere town hall event only for information dissemination. This is a forum where the issues are discussed and the banks are also participating with potential borrowers, and also trying to resolve many issues across the table. The CGT MSE scheme, we have asked every empowered committee to popularize that. A close liaison with the industry association, and in many states, the empowered committee has enabled the banks to have MOUs with state governments on many areas and avail benefits, interest subvention and things like that. Another important aspect is this financial inclusion initiatives through this FLC and RCET, where the skill training has to match the MSME requirements, and also there has to be a credit linkage immediately, so that the benefits of whatever training ultimately results in a lending decision, and which will result in income generation for the potential borrowers. We have also recently told that under the aegis of this empowered committee, there should be a high-level committee which will meet in the sidelines of this for monitoring rehabilitation of sick MSE units. And as far as new products are concerned, there are various non-fund-based limits and supply chain financing and factoring. Our College of Agricultural Banking has done a series of workshops during the last year on the supply chain financing in various centers. And as far as Madhya Pradesh is concerned, we started with a big seminar last year where our Deputy Governor, Dr. Chakravarti, was the main speaker, and we could get the state government and all the banks and SLBC to participate in that. And this gave us a lot of momentum in financing MSME sector in the state. I can tell you that the credit flow year on year has been 31% as on 31st March 2013 as compared to 15% the previous year. Almost it has doubled. So it is possible to do this. Only thing is that there has to be a will. The empowered committee has to be very proactive. Issues with the state government and other stakeholders have to be solved. And I can also tell you that with the active recommendations of this empowered committee in MP, the state government has opened a separate department for MSME financing. And clusters have been identified. There are a lot of activities in that. Skill building was mentioned. We have also told that if not in each district every bank cannot have an MSME centric branch, but at least you try to identify one branch where your MSME applications will be processed so that the turnover time or the turnaround time can be minimized. And while talking about products, something which comes to my mind is that these MSME borrowers, they require finance, of course. They require some non-banking related, non-fund based limits, but all of them don't require all the products which were shown in the slides. Classic example is, which we experienced as a regulator a couple of, 2-3 years before, where many of these MSME entrepreneurs, maybe the hosiery manufacturer in Tirupur or the spare parts manufacturer in Ludhiana, got into exotic Swiss franc yen cross currency swaps. he doesn't export to neither Switzerland nor to Japan. But you know, some of the financial wizards told them that you get into derivatives, it will give you much more income than anything. And it was true. During the first few quarters, they got a lot of income from the derivatives. But derivatives depend on currency movement, and currency movement nobody can predict, right? And suddenly when Swiss franc and Japanese yen moved the other way, whatever manufacturing income they had was totally wiped off by the losses in derivatives. And ultimately, it resulted in a lot of problems for the lending banks. It resulted in a lot of problems for we as a regulator, because many of the cases were filed where RBI was also a party because the circular was issued by us. So, you know, when you talk about the products and other things, there has to be an understanding that what type of products are required for MSME entrepreneurs. And this applies for not only them, but also for the lending banker. The lending banker, in its interest in gaining some few crores of rupees, should not be selling something which is not required by them. That's why if you know that as a regulatory prescription, we have said that, you know, the suitability and appropriateness as far as these products are concerned are also very important. And I'm sure that going ahead, each stakeholder will understand the importance of this segment. So regulatory prescriptions which are much more user-friendly in this segment than many other segments, which we will try to liberalize and promote through the Empowered Committee, each of RBI's regional offices to have much more financing in this segment. And I'm sure that this is going to be the future of the economic growth. And these deliberations in this panel on many of these issues, what banks have to do, what other stakeholders have to do, will be a roadmap for our future lending in this sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi Mohan. We all bankers are aware about the problems they're facing because of some of the companies, they purchased exotic derivatives in 2007-8, and many units became sick, they become NPA of the banks, and some are under restructuring. Now, coming to capacity building, Mr. Kannan did discuss what steps banks need to take to build up capacity for this sector. SME sector also has to do something, particularly in terms of financial literacy and complying with the bank's requirement. To discuss about this, I request Mr. Mohanot to put his views as to what all SME units and SME industries and the association need to do to ensure that we are both become part in the growth.
Thank you. But just to carry on what Mr. Ravi Mohan was saying, that there are additional risks he told us about in the SME segment. But what I would like to also say is that in the core risk, which we say, that yes, the SME segment has a little higher NPA percentage as compared to the larger corporate. But I believe if you look at the LGD, the loss given default, maybe the loss would be lower probably because there is a large amount of collateral also available in the SME segment, which is not available in the large segment. So probably that way maybe the risk gets balanced out and there is a diversified risk again here because of a larger number of units being there in that. Coming to this, building the capabilities for the SME segment, the SME segment of course is not one segment, it is a very heterogeneous and has several, you can say, segments within it. We have the microfinance segment, we have the missing middle segment from say 50,000 rupees to 10 lakh rupee loans. Then we have the micro segment, micro enterprise loan, then the small and then the medium. So now to make each of these segments, to make them funding ready or getting them to be funding ready is going to have different requirements. At the lowest end, the microfinance segment will definitely require financial and banking literacy. That is more important in that segment. After which, of course, they can then take a better decision on taking up loans from the microfinance institutions. And today, I think the microfinance institutions are also now following a code of conduct to be able to do this exercise in terms of building the capability of their borrowers, or alternatively, they have already seen what has happened in the system. So as a reaction to that, now I think they have also started doing a code of conduct and assessing and doing according to that, the customer protection principles are being followed in that. Now the other part is, for the other segments, we can always say that as beginning, like project preparation is very important, detailing the project, having a clear business plan, having a clear marketing plan is very essential in terms of convincing a bank to finance the SME. The second important thing after this project preparation is, when the bank manager always asks the person is, where is your money going to come from? The equity, where is your promoter's contribution going to come from? This is again an important question which normally is not answered on paper because of the various statements and tax statements and all, which do not show the capability of the promoter to bring in that money. And which is why, again, the bank manager doesn't have the confidence. So either he should have a clear plan of how does he bring in his promoter's equity, or alternatively, he can also tell whether he is able to take up from an angel investor, he has taken up some funding, or he is approaching some venture fund and some progress which has been made on the venture capital fund. That can be there. Because see, for any growth of SME to happen, you need both debt and equity. And for both debt and equity to come, the most important thing is, as Mr. Kannan also told just now, the most important thing is corporate governance and transparency. If that is available, I think that will help both raising the debt as well as the equity. The reliability of statements, the having two balance sheets or other things. I think this is something where that SMEs have to realize that there is a trade-off. If you want to be very small, you don't want to do anything, you may show whatever results you want to show. But if you want to grow, and many SMEs have realized that if they want to grow, they have to be very transparent, they have to follow a corporate governance norm, then only they will be able to get more funding, both from the banks, as well as maybe more equity funding from venture funds or even from the SME platforms of equity. They can get it from either of them. But ultimately, they need to be following the norms of corporate governance and transparency, on which the more we can say, or whatever we can say, I think it is still less on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohanot. Now, we don't have much time left with us. Is there a question anybody like to ask the panelist? We can take one or two questions. Yes, please. We can take a question, yes.
Sir, in retail sector with private sector partnership, you all have been doing wonderfully well, because the private sector partner takes care of your form filling, documentation, all sort of needs. If similar system, if you can introduce in SME sector, I think as Mr. Munot started that the basic need of reliable data and proper data, so those things can be taken care by your private sector partner.
Would you like to get?
Exactly, get it? Exactly what we will.
You see, retail, your private sector partners are taking care of filling all the forms and everything.
See, you are saying a private sector partner, if we add it up, I think that can really help us in doing that groundwork in terms of bringing in the right information at the table. So that is, see, if you should have either good project preparation agencies, either large scale, say, or maybe professional such agencies, number one, as I said that. The other part is whether we can develop those industry associations which can take up this role either way. Otherwise, that also can be there, because they can also form a kind of a project private sector partner, which, you know, they have a better understanding of KYC about the people of all the other who are members of their associations. And once they recommend a case, I think that helps us much more in terms of doing our own appraisal. So that is one. The third area is there are many gray areas between a bank financing it and an NBFC financing it. So it could be that why doesn't the bank and the NBFCs and MFIs do a partnership as such, that wherever we are not able to, wherever the bank is not able to go, or the kind of industries which we are not able to finance. For example, there was a survey in 15 kilometers in Bangalore where they said that there are 15,000 entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur is outside the bank branch, but then he doesn't have any license to sell any product there or anything. So he is outside the banking system also. So there are many such issues which are there, which we can always take the help of a private sector, where NBFCs, like he has said, no, that NBFCs are creating certain assets. They can go by their own norms and others, and these NBFCs can in turn be financed by the banking system, which bring in together both, just like it is being done for MFI sector. Like MFI is able to do the last mile connectivity very well, the banking system can give them, and maybe they can do it better. So it's a public-private partnership which can be done.
I think that is what that is what he meant when he said the capacity building of the banks as well as the SME themselves. That is where the association play a very important role. I'm afraid we can't take any more questions. The time is up for us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.